Okay, interesting day today. Wasn't going to trade because I was a little short on sleep, but I went ahead and looked at the market on my phone and just kind of curious to see what was going on. And look at what happened the last couple days. It made this huge drop. Actually adjusted the purple line because it blew through the channel that I had drawn previously, which was pretty much at the blue SMA here on the 4-hour chart. And it dropped all the way down to here and then started to make this bounce. So I drew in a couple price lines that went back to, let's see, the end of September, it looks like. And I drew in the two pink lines right there. And that's exactly where it bounced off of. And then I also drew in a new Fibonacci line with this is the first peak and then the trough and then the peak here. And it laid out the Fibonacci lines like this, and that also matched up with the pink line. So we've got all these indicators saying that this is a really good bouncing point. So I adjusted the purple line so it actually matched up. I mean, you can't see it on here, but it matches up, and it's actually a parallel line with the upper one. And I put it down, and it has 2 points now on the bottom that it's meeting with. So I decided this is a really good time to do a long, and I'm almost certain that it's going to get up at least to this Fibonacci line here, maybe even to this dotted line here where the two SMAs on the 4-hour chart are meeting. So that's a lot of movement for us to try to catch, and there's probably going to be a lot of opportunities to do that. So this is a good trading day, which Friday is often not. I'm kind of surprised, but this is looking good. So the trick was just to try to get in at a good point. And I decided on that last frame to go ahead and get into a long. Let's go back and look at that. So the reason I did was because it looked like it was a bouncing point right here off of the orange SMA, which I thought was pretty good spot. And there was a pretty good strong candle. However, that candle has not gone above this one yet. And the MACD is not looking real good. It's kind of high and it's possibly tipping down. But because I was so certain that it was going to go up, I went ahead and got into a long. And it went up, but then hit the plateau you can see right through here. And I could have gotten out at that point. That would have been $100. And in hindsight, I should have. I think what blinded me and kept me from getting out at that point was my certainty that it was going to go up all the way to this line here. So there's this line here is the Fibonacci line that I said was going to kind of be the goal for the day. So anyway, I didn't get out there, and then it started to drop. And now we can see on the MACD, there is a lot of room for it to drop. So it could easily get down to the yellow line, possibly even to the blue line, which would be pretty bad. So it dropped down to the yellow line, and that's a $262 loss for me. But again, not too worried at this point because, again, I'm like 80-90% certain it's going to go up. That's pretty high for stocks. All right, and it tested it here. We dropped below it just a little bit, but it's still looking good. And you can see on the 15-minute chart here, this is the other support line. It's at 57.62. So you're like, we're right at it. I'm not too worried that it's going to drop any further. If it does, I know it's going to pop right back up again. So, and also the good thing about it dropping is that it's given us a lot more wiggle room with the MACD. So we've gotten that MACD to drop down, so we have some room to go up again. So that's the other way to look at it. So it did drop down a little bit here. I'm at a loss of 312 at this point, and I've been in this trade for almost 20 minutes at this point. So I had to wait it out for a good long while. I should have waited to get in, but I just didn't know. I didn't know that it was going to drop down to there. So kind of just watching and waiting and hoping. This is showing good signs. It's kind of holding at that support right there, and the MACD looks like it's maybe starting to lose that downward momentum. And then it dropped through it again, and I thought, oh boy, this is not good. And then it held a little bit. So I was like, okay, I think it'll be all right. And then I lost internet connection. It wouldn't connect to my hotspot. And so I fiddled around with it for quite a while. I actually had to restart my computer, which kind of messed me up. So I brought it up on my phone, and then opening bell came during that period of time. And I was able to place a trade on my phone to get out right at this point right here, right at that peak, which was the $100 profit that I probably should have gotten out in the first place. And I figured it was at least going to get up to that point. So I went ahead and placed that order, and then I fiddled with the computer. And as you can see here, it actually did go up to that point. Let's see, so that would have been here. And it did break through it just a little bit. And so it made me $100, and then it dropped down a little bit more, and then I got into another long when I was on my phone, I think. So that's why I didn't catch that. So at 76, which was kind of high up here, I got into another long. And the reason I don't like to trade on my phone is because I can't see all the information that I can on here. I had, kind of analyzed it again this morning, so I was pretty certain I knew what was going on. I just couldn't handpick exactly when to get in. And looking at this, it's like, yeah, that was not a good place to get in. So I should have just waited. When I saw this right here, I think that's when I decided that it was going to head up, and I got in a little too soon. But anyway, so I'm in a long, and it's dropping again. So I basically lost all the profits there for a second, and then it came up. And now the MACD is looking good, and I'm pretty happy about the whole thing. So I put in an exit order up here, and the reason I chose this exact spot was simply because I see a lot of orders right there. And it's an even dollar amount. I don't know if that's why or not, but I figured, well, that's a good place to get out, and it probably will bounce at that point, bounce off that as a ceiling. And so I got filled and went up a couple points above that, and then dropped down. So I think that was a really good call. And then at this point, when we had this nice wick down here, and then a nice recovery, and a doji formed, and another green candle, the MACD's looking good. I got into another long right here, put in the order right there, got filled. 2 dojis now. It went up, and again, I could have gotten out, but I didn't. And it dropped down, hoping that the support will hold. This is, again, I got in too soon, I guess. My exit order I put in up here at the highest that it's been for the day, and it looks like it's going to recover. The MACD's looking good, and then it zipped up there to that point, and I got filled. So that was my third trade, and I had made about $450, $75, something like that. And then I took a bathroom break, and I was waiting for it to drop down. I left the screen right about here, and I was hoping that it would drop down to there, and then I could get into the long, because we're almost up to the point that I suspected that it was going to get up to today. And I really wanted to ride it up one more, just so I could make up all the losses that I had the other day. And I also felt like it wasn't just that, because making up losses is usually not a good idea. It was also that I was pretty certain that I knew exactly where it was going to, and it did. So I wanted to just ride it all the way up. So I did another quick little trade here, a long, and in hindsight, that was probably a little more risky than I should have done, because the MACD's already peaked out, and this could be possibly considered having met that goal, and it might drop at this point. So it's a little risky. So I put in an order, just a very, very small exit order right through here. This is not looking good, and it's starting to drop. So then I went to, while I was kind of waiting for things to happen, I went out to the 1 hour chart and fiddled with the exact points of that Fibonacci, because they were a little bit off, and readjusted it. And that actually put the Fibonacci line just about here. And it looks like we actually broke through it. And now that Fibonacci line is acting as a support, which kind of surprised me. So now I'm looking at the next possible point that it's going to get up to. And I think it may very well get up to 58.30 today, or thereabouts. The pink dotted line right here is just slightly below that. So I actually raised my order up. And even though the MACD looks like it's going to drop here, I think the potential for it getting up there is pretty good. And the reason I chose that spot exactly is because on the 1 hour chart, you've got the gold SMA here, which is the 50 SMA, and that's just a couple ticks below where that is. Changed my mind on that and decided that was a bit too big of a chunk to bite off, lowered it down to here, and got that filled. So now I've ended my fourth trade at 10.18, and I've made, when you take out commissions, I've made $545, which is just a few bucks more than I lost a couple days ago. So I'm gonna stop for the day, and you can see my trades. I've made 4 good trades, no bad ones. I mean, some of those trades I held on to at a loss, but I ended up doing all right with them and getting out at a profit. So you can call that good or bad, I don't know, but at least they were all profitable, and I did make money today. And I called the market. I was pretty certain I knew what it was doing, and it turned out to be correct. So anyway, I'd say that's a pretty good day of trading.